So building on some comments and a little bit of feedback, Fritz, where are you right now role-playing? RPG, what is going on? So this is an interesting place right now in terms of D&D. Then we're going to look at Invisible Sun and possibly some other considerations. We have completed, just by chance, it wasn't planned this way, we've been running kind of a semi-regular on and off D&D campaign. And when we've been playing it, we've been trying to really block out some good times, some long times to play it because we're not meeting frequently every week on there. So it's been ongoing for quite some time. The campaign ended. We're done. As a DM, I'm free. I'm done. Not really, kind of. Some new ideas, and I'm going to run by a couple of these ideas with you guys on there. On the opposite side is a player, my monk, Tozen Areus, topped out level 10. So, things were just starting to get good. And we finished the game I was playing in with my monk. We finished that series of adventures. A lot of fun. Awesome DM. Really an amazing time playing. But at level 10, and we thought it would end around level 10, 12, maybe 13 or 14. And that's where the monk starts to become really godlike. By making level 10, you've got a couple of powers. You finally have at least an array of ki that you can utilize the points to do some pretty interesting stuff. The monk is just really coming into his or her own on that perspective. So a lot of fun playing a monk. And usually I play a monk, or depending on the version of D&D, I play a wizard, a sorcerer, a magic user, some sort of arcane caster. So we finished there. Now we're thinking about starting another D&D campaign that I'm going to play in. But the DM right now and what he's putting together can't really say what level it's going to end at. I think for now it's going to be more of a just get together and maybe run some encounters and see how the story develops. Maybe figure out what we're going to do, maybe do to level 5 and then jump into a campaign. So the first couple of adventures will be literally one-off adventures to get some experience and then jump into something there. So I can't plan long-term. I'm sitting here and can't think okay, look, it's probably going to go to level 15 or level 10. Do I want to play a monk? If I play a sorcerer, it's going to take me to this level. Without that feedback, I'm trying to figure out what character class to play. I've got my fill of the monk. I love mages. I don't want to play a mage right now. I'm just not feeling it. I won't say burnt out. I'm not feeling it. I want to play something else. Now, I know there's going to be a rogue in the party. So I was thinking kind of like a sleight of hand, pickpocket type rogue, depending on where it goes. Maybe a shadow dancer or a shadow dancer-like type rogue. But then we'd have redundancy in the party. And we kind of want to really spread things out on there. Which leads me, I was thinking Dragonborn, some sort of Dragonborn, but I always play Dragonborns on there. It's just like a holdover from Kryn. I could finally, after all these years, play a proper Draconian and play a good Draconian. I'm thinking about Druid, because I haven't played a Druid in the longest time. And from the player perspective, if I take off my D&D hat, from the player perspective, I don't really know that much about Druids. Usually I face Druids. I'm trying to counter Druids. I'm trying to throw stuff as a DM at Druids on there. But to actually play a Druid, I can't remember the last time tabletop I played a Druid. And since we don't really know where the game is going to go, watch every adventure be like a dungeon adventure, I think that might be really interesting to play a Druid from that perspective. So I'm kind of leaning towards that. Are there some other character classes to possibly consider playing? We're definitely going to have some sort of fighter type, either a fighter or a barbarian. We're probably going to have a paladin. We're going to have a rogue. We won't have an arcane caster unless I play an arcane, but that could be okay. We don't really need a second tier fighter because we're going to have the duality of a primary fighter and a paladin. Maybe the paladin will be the primary or the secondary. We won't have a cleric, but well, we might have a cleric, but the paladin can kind of pull weight healing for the cleric. It's going to be bring your own heals. And we're all pretty good at that. So that kind of leaves, I'm thinking a druid. Your thoughts on that? So my D&D, I won't say next campaign. I've been kicking around some ideas. This is the influence of board games, of course. You know, the influx of wargaming and board gaming into my role-playing experience. I've been playing, admittedly, a lot of Zombicide Invader. Normally, I consume a regular diet of Zombicide, mostly Black Plague, but, you know, Invader Kickstarter's been out for a while. It's been delivered since July. It's hitting the table once or twice a week, getting a lot of plays in. And I really like how, on a side note, more of this I've been pushing up to my channel. I really like with Invader how they spawn the Xenos like crazy. In a usual Zombicide game, and this is kind of important for the D&D campaign that I'm thinking about, it's influencing me both my subconscious and my subconscious, conscious and subconscious. On there, most Zombicide games, if you haven't played them before, zombies spawn slowly. They start wandering literally onto the gaming board. They start appearing when you open doors. And over time, more and more and more spawn. Until next thing you know, the table is flooded with miniatures on there. And new players to the franchise are like, wow, that's a lot of miniatures set on the side. You know, there's like 100 miniatures there. Are we going to use them all? And like, all of those are going to be on the table in a moment. And it's bonkers from that perspective. So Invader ramps that up where mid-game you're flooded with the table. That survival horror or dealing with massive amounts of stuff on the table, that's created an interesting feeling, an interesting tension in Invader. I kind of want to try to recreate that. I won't call it paranoia, but that survival horror on the tabletop in a mass scale D&D. So I was thinking of, I don't want this to be like a Diablo type adventure. Years ago in 3.5, I was a massive Diablo 2. I still am. Massive Diablo 2 fan. I can admit it now because enough time has passed. And that job was a long time ago. You know, things are really bad. I mean, DDO is bad enough for me, and every now and then I have this feeling to return to DDO, and I'm like, I can't. I have to stop my compulsion, my just obsessive personality. I can't do that again. But before that, Diablo 2, I was like blowing off work to take my barbarian into Act 4, I think, to essentially gear up with all my Topaz gear to try and magic item find. And I'm like, this is just insane. This is absolutely, if I step back, this is like just mad insanity on there. But I love Diablo so much. I say that because I love Diablo so much. I still do. I ran the D&D 3.5 Diablo module, and I got to pull that out of my gaming chest and show you guys that. It was essentially literally recreating Diablo 2 on the tabletop, down to the axe, down to the missions, down to absolutely everything on there. And it was fun, but where it fell apart was you fought 20 or 30 monsters, you know, fallen, zombies, risen. They ported over the monsters directly from it. It bogged things down in D&D insane-wise. Trying to do real mass combat in D&D, and 3.5, 3.x was pretty well streamlined. Trying to do that just killed the buzz. But it was pretty cool being a party and taking on 30 zombies. So I was thinking about that. I'm thinking about Zombicide Invader. I'm thinking about, I'd like to recreate that on the table. No spoilers here. I have a lot of backstory on this. I have a lot of Tier 2, Tier 3 encounters feeding into this, and machinations and lieutenants and boss monsters and all that type of stuff. But this is kind of the setup to the campaign that I'm writing and I'm thinking about. Generic. You're traveling from one point of the kingdom to the other. Forgotten Realms, Mysteria, it doesn't matter what it is. And you're on this road that is traditionally well-traveled, well-populated. And it's taken you about a day or two to realize this, about a day and a half, when suddenly you realize as you make your way on the main road and it goes through some valleys and some forests, you've seen nobody. Nobody. There's no animals. There's kind of this overhang of mist, despite it being early spring, moving into mid-spring, kind of this mist, and the land just seems sick or frozen. You start to realize something's up. Something's wrong on there. And coming to a roadside inn that looks well fortified. You see some wooden barricades, some well built, some quickly put together. You see some piles of rain barrels stacked up, filled with dirt on there, boards over the windows. But whatever happened, it was one heck of a last stand, to borrow that quote from Aliens, but no one's around. You fortify the inn. You can't go back. We're a day or two into the journey. It's another day or two or three to the other side. You're stuck at this inn. Zombies attack. They start coming out of the woods. They start pouring out of the hills. Some of them are humanoid. Some of them are former knights. Some of them are even orcs and goblins. You have to fight. Now, throwing 30 or 40 zombies at the players, I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is, of course, in explaining it, it's going to be like, literally just like that, 30 or 40, maybe a couple of dozen zombies coming at you. It's the players are going to have to kill, depending on the party size. You'll have, and I have to play with the formulas and mess around with the exact metrics, but you will have 5 turns to kill X number of zombies. And if you don't kill X number of zombies in those turns, then the inn takes more damage, because they're just like pouring over the inn. You're fighting them. They're trying to break through the back doors. They're going to further degrade the inn. So if it takes you 7 turns to defeat X number of zombies, maybe the back doors are ripped off. Maybe part of the inn has collapsed on there. Now you're weaker for the next engagement, whenever that comes. So it's going to be this idea of your home base, that literally you're going to fortify the inn however you want. And as I throw these mass encounters at you, you're going to have to cleave your way through X number and X number of turns, or start suffering damage, literal attrition on there. And of course, I'll describe maybe one area they're attacking more than the other, so the players will have this idea. So I'd like this idea of like a tower defense, a base defense, and then there'll be opportunities to foray out from there to find out, and no spoilers here, what is going on in the land? Why are these mass zombies attacking? And then if you do foray out, is part of the party going to be at the inn? Are you going to abandon the inn? What are you going to do? I mean, a lot of options to split, to stick together, that are going to lead to the who, the what, the why, the power behind it. And it won't be the usual Fritz Necromancer on there. I've got my goal. Well, you probably already have a couple of ideas. I mean, it is D&D. But my goal in this campaign also, in writing the notes and the backstory, and there'll be chances to role play, I want to do something secondary ambitions here. I want my players to fight the classic D&D monsters, the kind of 5 or 6, maybe 7. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to narrow it down. When you think of things unique to D&D, when you think about kind of classic Forgotten Realms, what are some of these monsters that you would encounter? Normally it would be 1 in a campaign. I want to pull out like 5. And I want to give you a chance to fight all 5, interact with all 5, and negotiate all 5. So this ambition of survival horror, base tower defense, and fighting the classics of the D&D lineup, that's where I want to go. That's where I want to push. Invisible Sun. Let's talk a little bit about Invisible Sun. This is a role-playing game, and I pushed that podcast, that vlog, up to my channel under the role-playing series. It's kind of this unique role-playing game where the real world, it's kind of very Matrix-like. The real world is a world of illusion. You've come back to this other world, this awakening that's been destroyed by a great war. You find yourself as someone versed in magic, and you kind of have a personal story that you have to evolve and play out and role-playing that out. What's interesting from the perspective of a game master, I got to get used to saying GM instead of DM on there. You know, we're playing Invisible Sun, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to DM this. And people are like, wait, what? Because for the people playing, they've never played D&D before. That's like, wait, what? But they are avid role players. And what's really interesting is the perspective of the adventures that we're playing. I won't even call it a campaign yet because we've just learned the rules. But what's refreshing with this system is that it is entirely player-based, entirely player-focused. I literally am showing up to a gaming session with nothing planned. And that's a little bit scary. That is a little bit scary in running a game. You know, I'm used to D&D, the notes, and yeah, I'll go off script. Yeah, I'll throw in some extra stuff in the moment if I think of something pretty cool in there. But I kind of have some maps and some notes and ready to go. Invisible Sun, when you create your character in the beginning, you have a personal goal. You have a reason for existing. You have adversity, quests, things you're trying to accomplish. And in that creation, you know, we'd call those normally adventure hooks. I have a set of NPCs that interact with the characters and their personal goals. So literally, I'm feeding in the NPCs. They're feeding in the resolution of their goals and what they want to do and how they want to do it. And we're both crafting this story, players and, I was going to say DM, GM. I really don't know where each gaming session is going to go. I have no idea how the story is going to evolve, and I need to be on my toes and really pushing for that. It's kind of interesting from that perspective. Beyond that, Paranoia's kind of out there still, trying to get the group for Paranoia. You know, we played a couple of times a year. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is also kind of parked for a little bit. A podcast from, I want to say, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were exploring Dark Heresy. I'm kind of feeling a little Dark Heresy here. I am. I don't think it's something that we could commit to regular play, but I'm thinking about pre-generating some stock characters and then getting a couple of the guys from the 40K group and be like, you know, let's just like take on some Chaos cults and do some inquisitorial stuff and get a little bit of Dark Heresy in there. You know, I'm really feeling like maybe 1 or 2 gaming sessions just to fill that. I kind of got excited talking about some of the points of the system that I really enjoyed in that previous podcast. So while it's on the bottom of the pile, it's slowly, like the machinations of chaos, creeping up there. So that right now is where I am with role-playing, with RPGs, you know, moving into the holiday seasons here as of this podcast. You know, we've got Thanksgiving, we've got the holidays, the winter break coming up. So certainly going to be a little bit more time to role-play, and I want to have everything ready to go, all set for that.